Excellent. So let's get started. The first couple days we were working on our main scenes. We had set them up independently with some test faker data coming in and out just to make sure that they worked. Today we're going to try and tie some of that together with our main game manager, make sure that you can easily move between scenes should you have to, if that's even something we decide to keep in the game. I had considered for a bit that we would just that when you enter the game you would be stuck in one scene and you would have to communicate with your teammates, allies across scenes. So that might still be the way we go, but just for now, we obviously want our scene manager to work properly. So we're going to close the inventory test scene. Actually, really quick, I'll just show you. I was working on the inventory test last night, and I ended up stopping the stream before I finished it. But basically, we have these two inventories, and all I've done really is you can pick up items and you can move them around. Nothing super complicated. You can't split stacks currently because very likely this will be not a first-person game, but like a single sort of input managed game. So there won't be too much clicking. And if there is, I will add that feature later. Oh no, I've broken something. That's okay. Again, this doesn't have to be perfect. I just needed the ability to copy stuff in. So we're going to pop over here to our Trello board really quick, and here's sort of the plan for the day. So we're going to get our game manager set up relatively simply, get it, add it so that it doesn't die. We might do a home screen, just a simple simple scene that lets you enter the game as one of three characters. I actually suspect that this is going to be janky AF, but that's okay. And then we'll figure some other stuff out. So we want to add building stages. So we'll have our buildings go down as foundation, and then they'll have holes in them, inventory slots that we can drop resources into. We also want to work on our item drop factory, because things are gonna kind of spawn items when they, when you break rocks open, or when you destroy a building, or when you harvest some food inside. So we're going to make a factory that generates those items from scriptable objects. Cool. So let's hop back to the code, or the game, and we're just going to close this. We're going to clear. We're going to make a I've lost it again. Scenes. Test scenes. Do I have initializer test scene? I do. I don't know if that's what I wanted to call it. Maybe what we'll do is we'll create a new scene and we'll call it home screen test scene. Both because that's what it is, but also because it rhymes. And then we're going to open that sumbitch. I don't know if I'm allowed to say bitch this early in the stream, but I did. So what are they going to do? Not pay me the $0? Okay. So we have our main camera. This is going to be mostly UI. So we're going to add our UI canvas, main canvas, and then we're going to just put a big old panel in the background. I don't think panels are special, right? I don't know if that's true. Can I make this halfsies? Why doesn't it want to go? Yeah, half-C. Okay. So this is our main canvas. This is our panel. We're going to make the background blackground. Pretty simple, nothing too crazy. We don't need anything really there. And then inside the panel, we're going to add our text mesh pro. We're going to put our title in here, and we're just going to call it Untitled Space Game. Center. I think we want it to be not max width, but pretty close to max width. Drag this up a tick. Cool beans. Now, I don't remember. If I put in a button, it looks like a button. That's okay. So we're going to make 3 buttons here. And we're going to go pew pew. And we're going to space them out. Maybe we'll put a little wrapper in here. Create empty button wrapper warper. Drag the buttons in. We're going to add our grid. Nope. Horizontal layout group. Again, we want this to be wide. Left 50, right 50. And then we want this to be center. There we go. Look at that. Pretty cool. So button will be, we'll call this science button. And then engineer button. And then minor button. And depending on which one of these you'll click, you'll load up a different scene. We'll obviously fix this. We'll have a whole lobby and stuff where you can invite your friends. But for now, we don't care about that. Scientist. Engineer. And minor. So if you haven't been following for the first 3 days of this, the heart of the game is a cooperative space survival game, and the focus is really on the cooperation, that each of you enters as one of 3 different jobs, and you have to coordinate with each other to collect resources and build stuff, grow food, meet all your basic needs. So you have the engineer, who is sort of in the overworld. They're on top of the planet that you're on, and they're the one who builds the structures and the power grid and the water grid and all that, making sure that everybody has power and water and all the buildings they need to do stuff. The miner is underground. They're collecting all the rocks and the gems and the rare earth metals and all that. And then the scientist is inside the buildings, the main command center and the greenhouses and all that. And they're the ones that's growing the food. And so let's say you're the scientist and you say, hey, I need more food production, but I don't have any room. Can you build me can you build an addition to the command center? And the engineer says, I really want to, but I don't have enough iron or something. So then he'll say to the miner goes, hey, can you go grab some more iron and drop it off in the depot? And the miner will go out and try and find some iron. But then the miner's like, oh, I'm going to die. I don't know enough food. And so you have to go get the food from the scientist, and it's a lot of kind of trading back and forth. And there's sort of this constant, everybody needs something from everybody else. But in order to get the food, you need more space. In order to get the space, you need more minerals. And you just kind of keep going from there until you meet your goals. Whatever that goal happens to be. So, I, unfortunately, have forgotten how buttons work. On click, I think we need to add some type of thing here. So the first thing we were actually going to do is, the reason we made this in the first place, pardon me, is we want to make our game manager. And if I remember correctly, I'm on vacation this week, but I'm still getting messages from work. Game manager. And then we're going to add a script, and this is going to be called game manager. And I don't know. I don't think I actually have a game manager. I did, and then I deleted it. Oh, look at that. So this is so funny. In Unity, if you have a script called game manager, it has this little gear icon. Because it's such a common thing to call something. So here's our game manager. We'll just close. Why? Is Alt W? Oh, I meant. Well, I guess it's Command W. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is we want to add this to awake, and then don't destroy on load game object. And so what this does, if you're not familiar with Unity development, is whenever you load a new scene, it unpacks the whole scene and then rebuilds the new scene based on the information and resources and assets and stuff that are inside the new scene. But obviously our game manager, we want to persist across all of our scenes. And so we basically just tell Unity, you know, don't kill me. I have angered something. Cool. So what do we want? What do we want our game manager to do? So there's a couple things. We want to have the current scene. So maybe not actually. We might add a scene manager. And the reason we're going to add a scene manager is just because there's a bunch of scene related things that I think I want the game to do that we don't want to pack into game manager. The game manager should hold on to all of the top level assets, but we don't want them to be, we don't want the game manager to actually do too much. So we'll add a scene manager, and that will do some scene managey things. That's fine. We will move this into scripts. Oh, scene managers. That's funny. Yeah, might as well move that right in here. And then we will move that into the namespace. Oh, abstract. That's not what I asked for. Move that into the namespace. Then this is going to say never instantiated. That's fine. We don't need it to be instantiated. So we're going to have our scene manager. This is going to be private static scene managers. Oh. Interesting that it says multiple choices. Why? Yeah. I don't like actually when people do that. I find it shorthand for manager. Never used. That's totally fine. The other thing we want is our private static inventory manager. Although, the more I'm thinking of this, we actually don't need these to be static. And I'll tell you why. Because we're only going to have one instance of the game manager. And so, we only need to have... And so, as long as the game manager itself only has the one instance, instance, then there will only ever be one of these guys if that's how they're getting instantiated. So on awake, we say, all right, this is going to be null first equals null. If instance does not equal null, destroy game object. We should only ever have one of these guys, and then I don't know if we can return, but we will anyway. Otherwise, we're going to register it as not that thing, and then we're going to create our inventory manager. Now, oh, I'm so glad I didn't do that. Okay, great. So, inventory manager is going to be equal to new in. Oh, my bad. This should be my inventory manager. Now here's the problem. I think, I could be mistaken, but I think I made this a mono. I didn't. Oh, I'm so glad. Okay. Great. I had it as a mono behavior because I was just dropping it into a scene as a test, but I don't want to do that anymore. Inventory manager dot instance. I don't know if I need the inventory manager to be a singleton explicitly, but it's okay that it is. Scene manager, and then this will be the same thing. New scene manager. We'll pop in here, and I think just I think we'll do the same thing. We'll go private static instance. I guess I have to scene manager instance. We'll open up the inventory manager. We just want something like this. Same kind of thing. And then back in our game manager, we'll do the same thing here. So this will be scene manager.instance. There we go. So now we have a record of our singleton inventory manager and our singleton scene manager. I've angered, oh, easy save. Get active scene. I suspect that I used to have, okay, so interesting. I didn't think about that. I deleted a bunch of old code. Scene manager. But what I didn't do was delete the stuff in lib. And I used to be using easy save to manage a bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do very quickly is we're going to open up the stuff that we deleted, desktop. Oops, let's move that over here. Scripts. Unclear where our scene manager is, so we'll have to find it. It would be great if this was all in alphabetical order. Managers. It's also possible, now that I'm thinking about it, that I copied this from an entirely different game. Because I was using easy save in the third game that I was using. So we're going to, and I also don't remember how to use easy save, so we're just gonna comment this out. Hopefully that, oh boy, this will get all the dependencies. I don't know. I genuinely don't know if I did all this. Or if this was auto-generated. Either way, I've angered something. Editor, oh my god. I think this was all this is all generated. I don't think I did any of this. Enable for scene? Yeah, this is... I have done some damage to myself. Oh my god, why? Can enable for scene? I hope this was auto-generated. It seems like it might have been. Return true, I guess. I hope I'm not hurting myself there. We're gonna end up redoing a bunch of the Easy Save 3 stuff. I had purchased it, and then I lost the base part of it. Anyway, back to reality. Scene manager, we have our scene manager, great. I wonder, is there a way that I can just get the current scene? Unity, get current scene. I can. So private scene in Unity scene management. We're gonna make a constructor. So void, oh no, public scene manager constructor. And if we're creating this for the first time, we want our scene to be scene manager, no, management. I'd lost it. It is scene management. Why is it not doing that? Scene management. Oh, that's annoying. Get active scene. All right. We're just gonna call that something else for now. Using scene Unity scene manager equal to. This is what happens when you overwrite stuff that is already being used, importantly. There we go. So we're just going to grab the active scene from Unity. And then we're also going to want to add a method called public void, say load scene, and then I don't know what the best way to do that is. Let's say the thought is, managers. Let's take a look at the game manager. Close all but this. So here's the game manager in my old feature. Do I have scenes? I don't. Do I have any kind of scene manager? Also no. Interesting. Because I do know in my other game I had multiple scenes. We did load up. You would type in the IP address or whatever, and you'd connect. And that is still the plan down the line. We'll have to set up some kind of server. I'm gonna cannibalize my netcode to the best of my ability, and unfortunately, that is going to be a pretty big step. So let's say we'll do scene here. Load scene, new scene, and then Unity scene manager dot. We'll come back to that. I have forgotten how scenes work, but that's okay. We'll have to Google that a little bit. It was also not really my plan to do all of that today. We just want to get the game manager up. So we load up the inventory manager, we load up the scene manager. The inventory manager is going to have maintain all of the different inventories in the game. So we have this dictionary, and anytime an inventory is created, it registers itself with the scene manager. And because this string will have to be unique, because it's a globally unique ID, I hate saying GUID as a word, it sounds gross, then we'll just have all the inventories logged here, and that will be for both the players and any buildings that have an inventory, storage capabilities, all that kind of stuff. And that way we're going to have one central place that is going to do our item swapping. So you can hold on to an item, and you can also swap items between different inventories. It's common in games that the system that exchanges items between inventories is managed independently, and so you'll move an item, you'll give someone an item from your inventory, and they'll receive it, but then your inventory doesn't save properly, and then you end up duplicating the item. And so having one consistent place that does all of the inventory management, both on the server and locally, will hopefully reduce that. Not that I'm super worried about cheating. because this is a cooperative game that you play with your friends. And so if you want to cheat, you're welcome to, I guess. Maybe I'll get a spiffing Brit video out of it. I'll make something like Untitled Space Game is totally fair and balanced. I will say, though, just a reminder that the game is not going to be called Untitled Space Game. I will come up with a title for it, unlike Untitled Goose Game that went live with that and was very popular. I do have a plan to give it a title. You might have noticed, if you're very keen, it is called Kuiper at the top. I was watching a lot of The Expanse on Amazon Prime, not a Twitch Amazon plug, but great show, and they talk a lot about the belters and what it's like to be sort of a blue collar miner on asteroids, and I thought that was kind of a cool concept. And so that's where this came from. I somewhat abandoned that general idea, but we definitely were still on an alternate planet. There's still some mining involved, and so that's where we're at. All right. So really quickly, we're just going to load up mode manager. No. I have so many managers. Interfaces, view delegates, lobby scene delegate. Let's see if that looks correct. Game manager.connect to server. I know you can't see what I'm looking at. This is my my Windows Explorer. I don't think there's anything inappropriate on my computer, but it's just safer. So we have this here called instance.network client. We connect to the server. But then what happens? How do we get, I guess, what is calling this? Is it, there must be something that's actually, we're loading up the game manager. That's great. We're saying don't destroy. Oh, I have the game manager object as a prefab. That's pretty cool. That way you can put a whole bunch of stuff on there, different components and whatnot. I might do that. We try to grab the engine if there isn't one. Call it fake client. It just fakes the server if we're not connected to the internet, which is great about interfacing stuff. I had something called a thread manager, I believe. I think that was just to make sure that everything was running in sync. And so basically, instead of using update on all my mono behaviors, I was just updating once here and syncing that across all of my objects. I don't know if that was good. Probably not. And then disconnect. This is, yeah, very weird. I'm curious how I was managing scenes. And the crazy thing was, this was 10 months ago. This was like last October. Or was it? Was this like 2 years ago? I don't even remember when this was. That's what's crazy. Cool. So we'll put that away for now, and we'll just start kind of from scratch. And so what we want to do is we want to have our different scenes. I actually think that I might have things to figure out. Scene management. I know that there is something called asset bundling. If the problem is if you load all of your scenes into the build at once, it ends up making your builds take a long time, and they take a long time to load, and there's a whole bunch of other weird stuff that goes on. Now, my game is not particularly large, but what you can do is you can bundle things together so that they load up when you need them. And because we have this opening screen, it might be best just to do it correctly the first time. We're also going to have to wrap that maybe in the netcode, because similar to the old version of the game. It's going to we're going to have to connect to the server, whether it's a real server or a fake server. So we might come back to the scene management and the home screen stuff. The overworld manager is done. The overworld input output faker is done. The underworld manager we're actually not doing very much with in out faker. The map manager, construction manager, I don't even know what this was about. Was this just the general idea of building stuff? I think I did that. Dynamic UI I didn't do. Outdoor structures I didn't do either of that. The description manager will work on some type of indicator. That's more of a luxury. We'll give that a little tag. We'll call that purple is luxury, like old kings in their purple robes. That's how I'll remember. Limited number of structures. This is all kind of luxury stuff. So what we need to do is, I think maybe we'll keep the game manager in mind. And then we'll work on maybe the item drop stuff. So we need to create our item factory, and that will take in something. Maybe like loot tables. Yeah. We'll have to generate some kind of loot table structure. Loot table structure. And then item factory. And that will be attached to the inventory manager. I think probably a good strategy. Building stages I'm actually pretty excited about now that I have the inventory manager and the inventory slots and all that. And so what we can do is we'll add the different states to buildings. So when they're first placed, they'll have to have a pre-construction state, like a foundation state, and an inventory. They'll also have to have, pardon me, the cough. They'll also have to have an item list, like a resource list for how you get them from foundation to complete. And that way, I think I've always liked games like I believe Factorio does this now, but Factorio, Oxygen not included, that type of game where you can kind of plan everything out without needing to have all the resources immediately, and then as the resources are collected, you can start filling them in. I have played games where you can't even build things if you don't have the resources. You can't even place them if you don't have enough to build them eventually, which I find a little frustrating, especially in a game about planning. So we'll get all the foundations down, and then we'll fill them in. And then what we do, how we actually get from foundation to complete, whether there's drones involved or whether you have to manually click it yourself and wait for a bit, we'll figure that out once we get our character managers set up. Cool. So let's pop back to the game, and we're going to reopen our inventory scene, our inventory test scene, which is here. Why are you X's? What has happened? Hey, buddy. My dog is at the door. Why are these broken? What did I do to break them? Very weird. Huh. Did I destroy character? None. You have a character. If you're watching and you understand what is happening right now, why are my panels broken? Inventory container. These used to be prefabs. Did I break the prefab? I think they were prefabs. Hold on. Scene. I'm very curious. If you're watching the stream or the video and you like this type of content of watching somebody who only vaguely remembers how to make video games try and make a video game, it'd be really helpful if you followed me, threw me a like, that kind of fun stuff. Smash that bell or whatever they say on YouTube. Oh my god, what am I doing? Prefabs. Inventory slot, sure. Inventory container. Why are you broken? I'm so curious about why this is all of a sudden not working. Unity, canvas, red X, red cross. It seems to have your game window set too small. So if I pull my game window out, I stretch it. Oh, okay. Okay, that's what it was. Apparently these were too big. So if we make them a little bit smaller and then I put my game window back, is it gonna... It does work again. Okay, cool. That was very silly. I've never seen that before. Still a problem if I do it like this. Why do you have to be so big? Huh. Weird. I don't have to have it nested like that. I'm curious. Doesn't even really matter where these are. They don't have to be. They were just for testing. So we have our test thing here. We can still move items around. Interesting. Okay, so it does... I figured out why this is broken. If storable. Okay, so I guess storable isn't null, but it isn't happy. Add item. Well, honestly, I don't know if I care about that right now. I've genuinely forgot what we were doing. Oh, the item generator. Okay, so we want to make an item factory. So let's pop over here in scripts. We'll go inventory management. This is going to be our item factory. And what it's going to do is it's going to take in, we're going to use it for a couple different things. So should a factory class be static? Probably. Public static generate items. I guess we're going to say void right now, and I know that that's not correct, but I haven't decided what I want. Oh no. So what we want this to do is this will be a list of items, probably. So let's say you are smashing some rocks open. We want that to generate items from a loot table. let's see if anyone's loot tables with scriptable objects. The one I don't know if I love this or hate this about Unity is that anytime I look something up in any other language, any other, web development, desktop game development stuff, or desktop application development, etc. There's always, an explanation of the thing you're looking for. I say, hey, I want to make a loot table, and they go, here's some code. But with Unity, the first 50 odd responses are always like full end-to-end tutorials or videos, and it's, I guess, helpful, but not if I don't want that, Sometimes you just want code. Okay, so what this appears to be saying is that in my scriptable objects, we can make I'm going to get a hotkey for muting just so I don't have to cough all the time. So this is going to be called loot table SO. And what we want here is apparently I can do some cool stuff with loot tables. So I can do like lists and stuff, which might so what we want to do here is we want to have a list of drop list. We'll say item, but I don't think that's going to be the case right away. And then in inventory management, I actually, is it better in resources? Oh, it's funny that just puts a little resource tab here. I'm going to make a directory and call it data. And I don't know if that's the best plan, but what we're going to do is we're going to make another directory and we're going to call it loot tables. And we're just going to try and add we want this to be scriptable object. Unity engine. We want to have an asset menu for it. We're going to change this to loot table. And then I actually don't know if I can do it here. I have to do it in the editor. So we'll put this away. And we're going to look at resources. Oops. Those resources. Data, loot tables. We're going to go create scriptable object, loot table. And this is just going to be rock. And I guess this should be public. Let's see if that works. It might not. It might not actually work. It doesn't. So it turns out I can't just make lists. We'll have to do something else. All right, I'm looking at a tutorial right now. And it would be great if it showed me what the loot table looked like. But my suspicion is that it won't do that because it wants me to buy arrays in scriptable objects. Is that it probably wants me to buy stuff. Okay, so can we make this an array? Let's say item. Still nothing. Why? It's also possible that this has to be a scriptable object as well. So what we'll do, just because we're going to have to do it anyway, is we'll go back to scriptable objects here, and we're just going to create a new scriptable object, and this will be called loot drop SO. And this will have some type of min-max thing. It honestly doesn't matter what it is this moment, because we can fine-tune all of that later. Sorry if you missed that. We just made this new thing called loot drop SO, same kind of thing. I'm going to change this to loot drop SO and see if that makes it any better. It also might not. Oh, look at that. We got a drop list. Okay, cool. So now we can make loot drops. So let's try to do that, if that's a good if this is a good strategy. It could also just be really tedious and stupid, but that's okay. We're going to call this a loot drop. Oops, that's not what I wanted. Rocks, whatever. We want a folder, loot drops. Copy that in here. And then back in our code, we need to actually define what a loot drop is. So this will be a raw resource. If it's private, can I see it in the editor? You'd think I'd have to, right? No. I guess not. Public. Stop naming it like that. And then what we'll do is we'll say public min amount. Say 1 and 1. And then here in our loot table, we'll lock that for a second. We're gonna drop some rocks. And that seems like a terrible way to do this, but it doesn't matter for now because we just need something we can pass into our factory. which will be the top level loot drop, the loot table object. And then we'll have that generate resources for us. And then we can, as I said, we can fine tune how that works in the future. So we'll go to our item factory, and then we'll say generate loot, and we'll take in a loot table. We're actually going to call this generate resources. Take in a table. And what we want to do is we want to return a list of item stacks. Let's off. Okay, so it's not used and it's not returning anything. So we're gonna go var list. Nope. I know it says we don't have to do this, but like I kind of want to. Item stack list equals new. And this is going to say we can just call it var, isn't it? I know, but I guess it would automatically know that it's a list because I am initializing it. Cannot have not. Oh, this has to be static. That's okay. We did know that. So now we just need to loop through our loot table. And we're going to go public loot drop. Oops. Get drop list. And this is just going to return our drop list. And then we're going to say for each table dot drop. Oh, I guess it's public. We don't want it to be public. We want it to be private and serializable. Serialize this guy. Serialize me, Captain. That's actually like really specific. That's what they should have said in the TV show or in the commercials, because it was actually serial. Get drop list. And then for, we're gonna say drop. What did I call it? Drop. Oh, just drop. We'll just call it drop. For each drop, we're gonna calculate a math dot. Is it random dot? Ugh. That's something else we're going to need is a random generator. And the reason we want to, and I have a random, we're going to call it random number generator, is because we want our randomness to be consistent. And I know that there's random number generators like internally that are pretty consistent, but it just gives you a little bit more control. And the reason for that is because we want, theoretically, for people to be able to repeat the seed for like speed runs and stuff. So this is going to be private static instance public if instance equals null instance equals new, else return instance, and then this is going to say seriously? Can I just do that here? Is that what my game manager is doing? Oh, of course not. Is that what my inventory manager is doing? No. So we're going to do it like the inventory manager. And then, of course, we'll need our random number generator, private random number generator. This is our constructor. Now that I realize that, does this have, oh, this doesn't have a constructor. That's okay. Private random. I forget if it's better to use Unity Math Random or Unity Other Random, but we'll just call this RNG. RNG is equal to new random. And then we'll go public int random int return RNG dot next int. I can take in values. And we're going to do that actually. We're going to go int max, and this is going to be max, and then int min, int max. Same shit, different method. All right. Where were we? We were looking at the item factory, and so we want to get num to spawn is equal to random number generator dot instance y. Well, it would be public static. Gotcha. Dot instance dot random int drop dot min drop dot max. That's going to give us a random integer between our minimum and our maximum, and then we're going to create a new stack list push. Can I? Oh, list dot add. New item stack. No, it doesn't like that. It's not going to like that at all. But I need my drop a random resource. So we need to make an item out of this. Because I don't believe that these are stored for like liquids, not, you know. Anyhow, where were we? I just remembered that when I created my items in my inventory manager, I didn't actually make them creatable with resources. So we'll have to do that. So we actually were doing our fake character items here. Oh, we are loading items with resources. Interesting. So, add item. Why are you not doing that? iStorable. Oh, we called it resource. Okay, so we need to generate resources. That's what we're going to do. Okay, great. So we're going to pop back to our loot table. And we need to create a new resource with our drop dot resource. What is your problem? Ah, okay. We can make one. Public resource. Raw resource SO resource. Oops. And we're just going to set resource data to resource like that. And that should allow us to generate objects from a loot table, and it'll return a list. Awesome. And then we want to, we'll need to have this item stack list inserted into an inventory somehow. So we will hop over to character because oh no. Oh, okay. I do need to make an empty constructor just so that this doesn't get angry at me because I don't feel like converting it. All right. Cool. So what we need to do is we need to add something to the inventory manager. For now. And we'll go public void add list to inventory. And it's possible in the future we're just going to throw the stack on the ground and have somebody pick it up with, magnets. But for now, the easiest way is we're just going to take a list of item stacks. So we'll go list item stack and inventory. We'll call that list. If that's not reserved, it isn't. So we just need to loop through this list for each item stack. And we're going to try and pop that into the inventory. So do we have we do not have an item stack add item public. Ooh. Public int add item stack. We'll just call that stack for now. And we're just going to, oops, not what I meant to do. Import static members, and we're just going to pass this right on. We're going to go add item stack.storable stack.count, and that'll do the same. Oh, is it count with a big old C? Yeah. And we're going to return that as well. If you're just joining us, we're doing a little bit of housekeeping. We spent the first 3 days working on the main 3 game scenes, and right now we're just working on some of the general stuff with item moving around, some items, stacks, all that kind of stuff, loot tables, the inventory manager, as well as some UI stuff probably will be thrown in there later today. All right. So we want to go back here, and we would just want to say for each stack in list, remain inventory.add item stack. If remain is equal to is greater than 0, we'll just throw an exception for now. I don't expect that will be the case, but we'll just say no, we'll just do a debug log. Debug log. Those items will just disappear. No room for stack for list. We don't want to die. We don't want this to end, because theoretically you could have an item stack with 2 different items in it, and you might not have room for the first item. You might not have any room for rocks, but you might have some room for iron if you already have a partially filled iron stack. There was a video on GDC a couple of years ago where I forget the guy's name, but he was listing off all of the dumb things that people do when they pitch video games. Among them were, bringing over-the-ear headphones if you have sound, instead of giving somebody your gross earbuds, which was pretty funny. But also, he said, people will spend so much time showing you their inventory management system, when most inventory management systems are pretty boring and identical to every other one that has ever existed. And now that I'm designing an inventory management system, I do understand why people do that. You spend so much time developing something that, for the most part, is just kind of a necessity. Like, it's not even interesting, it's just you need it for your game. I wonder if there's a way to develop an inventory management system, or if there's to include one right from Unity. I know you can buy one for like $300, but I don't have $300. So we can now add the list to the inventory. And now we have our loot table. And we have our factory. And so we're going to generate the resources, and that is going to return a list of items. And then we're going to try and put them in an inventory. Now, which inventory and which loot table that comes from is going to depend, obviously, on what we're doing. So for the most part, it'll probably be obviously the current character's inventory, but it might not be. It could be, behind the scenes. We could have a like a forge, turning raw raw metal into refined metal, and we'll just want that to place the stack right in the forge's output inventory. So it certainly will depend. But that is pretty much what I wanted to get accomplished as far as the item drop factory. I will make something else here for item drop table. Milo, is that what you're supposed to be doing? My dog is digging on the carpet. He's usually pretty good about not doing that, but I think he's bored because I'm with you guys. Someday when I get my camera, I mean, I have a camera set up, but when I get my my full camera set up, I'll have a dog view. Item drop table system. Have one now. Is garbage. Make better. Cool. All right. So, as far as the item drop factory goes, I think we can say that that's done. It's not amazing, but we're looking to cut a few corners here. All right, so let's head back. What do we say? Add building stages. We'll head back outside. So let's go to our scenes. And we're going to go to our engineering test scene. Yeah, it's already open. I just have the console loaded. Okay. And if we run this, it should still run. It should still build. It does. And great. Really quickly, we're going to add a card here. I know prevent number of structures. We've done that. Prevent building if space occupied. I actually did write some boilerplate for that, and then I just never implemented it. We're going to zoom in on our grid, and we're going to implement our structure system. So pop back here, we'll close this. It's Alt W, Control Alt W. Okay. Too many hotkeys. I work with a Mac at work, and JetBrains is fantastic, but one of the minor issues I have with it is that the hotkeys for a lot of their systems are the same, but sometimes they're different across from, say Rider to PHP Storm. Obviously, you need to do different things more often than other things, depending on whether you're game development or web development. So I do understand that, but I do find that they're also different from Mac to PC. So on a Mac, closing a tab is just Control or Command W, but here it's not. And so I had to rebind that myself. But the whole Command, Control, Alt, Option, Function, Windows key disparity between Macs and PCs is one of the biggest first world problems that I have. All right, enough of that. We're going to open up our structure. We're also going to open our structure SO. So let's think about this for a moment. So we have a couple different options. The first is that when we open up the structure SO table, we can either have a completely second structure with its own resources, with its own base data. So we'll have something called like solar panel foundation. And then when that receives the correct items and an interaction, it will update and turn into a solar panel. The benefit of that is that we can separate the work of construction from the work of just being a building. The downside, obviously, is that we need to create a second class and more more data objects. The other option is that we add something to our structure SO and we call it like make a list of required resources, and so it'll be a list of pairs, or basically a second structured object, or scriptable object, pardon me, and it'll say like, we need 200 stone and 50 iron, and then we can use that to generate the structured inventory. I honestly don't hate that. Now, is there a good way for me to do? We want to list public const water hello Hylocopter. What do you mean by water? Do I like awesome water? Yeah, water's pretty good. Is awesome water different than regular water? I have definitely drank water all day, and then I just end up going to the bathroom a lot. But that's how you stay hydrated. You only have vodka, and it's bad vodka. Is your tap water not drinkable? So what I'm doing here is I'm trying to make, I don't know if I can do this, if I can use structures, structs, pardon me, but we're going to try. We're going to go construction requirement. This is going to be an array, and then we'll call this requirements. And we'll see what happens if I open up scriptable objects. What are we looking for? We're looking for buildings. Oh, I have this locked, that's why. Okay, it doesn't look like I can do that. Okay, what can I do then? I have not gotten to the boob planets yet. Um, I suspect sometime Prime Gaming we'll have to add that. This is one of our test scenes, and right now we're working on building stuff. Once we get that done, we're going to clean up the UI, and then we'll put in like some background so you can look off into space and you can see all the planets, and then maybe some of them will have boobs. Or like they'll just float by each other conspicuously to look like boobs. And then people will go, wait, was that boobs? And I'll go, yeah. Yeah, it was. All right. So what we're working on now is we're trying to get, so we have resources needed here. So it does look like it's still updating even after but it's not liking my structs, and I don't know why. So, can I make this serializable? Is that how I do it? Is that why it doesn't show up? Maybe. Probably not, though. No. Okay. Well, we'll come back to that in a moment. We'll just say, change this to like rocks needed. We'll have to fix this later. But we'll just say that all buildings require rocks. And we'll say that a small solar panel requires 50 rocks to build. And we'll go from there. So now what we want to do is we'll also have to add a public sprite. What we call this? Construction sprite. So this is what it's going to look like when it's building. And then the actual sprite is what it will look like when it is completed. So let's find something that looks kind of construction-y. Just random tiles. Honestly, none of this looks super construction-y, but that's okay. This kind of looks like a box. So we'll say that it looks like a box until it's constructed. All right, then we're going to do a little pop back to structure. And we're going to change get sprite. We're going to add building modes. So we're going to go enum mode under construction active. It'll be public for now. Are you still at work, Reef Door? I don't know what your hours are like. And then we want private, ooh boy, private mode is equal to active. Oh, that's totally fine. All right, so now by default, we're going to say that mode is active, but when we create a new structure, we're going to set the mode new struct mode is equal to under construction. And then the sprite will be mode equals mode dot under construction. We want to go base data. What did I call it? Construction sprite. There we go. I'm not positive that that's going to work, but we'll see. If I place the thing, it doesn't work that way. That's okay. What we need to do is set structure data. Let's move this up, I guess. Sets the base data. I'm curious where this sprite is getting its sprite data from. Oh, I didn't actually make. Alrighty then. Interesting. I have misplaced my structure data. So we're loading this structure. That's totally fine. Getting the component, the structure component, okay. But where is it actually setting the sprite? What if I just get rid of this and we're just gonna return the construction sprite? Oh boy. I don't know what I've done. Well, glad no one was here. All right, if I run this now, will it still showing the wrong sprite? Interesting. Okay, so we're gonna dig a little bit. We're gonna open up our building grid manager, if I can find it. Grid base manager, add structure. We're gonna get a new structure based on structure SO. Okay, so all that's actually doing is just creating, is just adding it to the structure manager. What we need is the thing that's adding it to the structure container. So which is this. So that's adding it to the parent, sure. Setting the local, fine. Mode is under construction. And then I assume to be set structure data, but that doesn't seem to be doing what we want. Is it the structure sprite? Let me see. Prefab structure. This has interactable sprite, sure. Ah, no, that is sprite renderer, not sprite. Base data sprite sheet. Ah, okay, so we want to change this to get sprite. That's what we want. And then we'll get rid of this guy. And then we'll get rid of this guy. So all of the sprites that are already in the scene should be loaded in exactly as we expected. And then here we have loaded in a box. And we don't have a sprite for this guy, so it's actually not doing anything. Awesome. So we're just going to go back to our what's it, small solar panel. And we're going to create the construction sprites for everything. We'll use the same box, I guess, because I don't have a bigger box. Awesome. All right, so we just set the boxes to load correctly. If we place this, it loads a box. If we place this, it loads some more boxes. All right, so then what we need to do is we need to have the info panel show what happens when it's under construction. And so what actually is happening when I click on these? Nothing. Oh, it's just saying handling command center. Okay. So I'm not doing a lot of flipping back and forth. I apologize if you're watching and are confused by what's going on. It's because I am not managing my windows very well. So we have our event handler. We're calling the base interact method. So what we're actually going to do is we're going to go if mode is equal to mode dot under construction, and I place my solar panel, and then I turn off. Oop, that's not build mode. That's all mode. I turn off build mode. I click. I have broken things. Oh, my suspicion is that I don't actually have my UI here. So let's grab that. Now which? Is the problem that I don't have my info panel delegate instance? Is the problem that I don't actually have an instance of the info panel delegate? Because it might be. So what we'll do is we'll go instance. We're just going to make this a little safe. So if instance equals no, return. I don't know why you're doing that. What? Did I? Is instance null is equal to. What a stupid thing. I don't know why it would do that. Okay, so that's just for safety. It's not really going to help us in the long run, but we're going to place our solar panel. I don't know why I keep doing that. Okay, I place the solar panel. It's a box. I click on it. It says handling small solar panel, and it's not doing anything because our content, because our manager is off. Maybe just for safety, for our own benefit, we're gonna pop over to. I believe it's the. Actually, we're gonna have some fun here. So we're gonna go into the scene manager, and we're gonna go into the scientist test scene, where I know I have. This manager, and then we're going to make this into a prefab. We're going to save that, and then we're going to go back into the engineering test manager, test scene, pardon me, and we're going to copy this prefab. Oh boy, what did I call it? Feedback. And that should be fine. And that should load up everything exactly the same way. And we're going to click go.